So as you may know, Finxact has recently become part of Fiserv. And over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be speaking with its founder, CEO, and chairman, Frank Sanchez, about the journey he's taken through core banking, the Finxact Fiserv acquisition, and what Finxact and Fiserv together can do for the banking industry. Frank, you've had a very successful career in core banking spanning nearly 40 years. Could you tell us briefly about that trajectory, what ultimately prompted you to assemble a team to build a next-gen core platform, not just 5 years ago?
I've been in the banking software business since 1980 and designed a core banking system called Profile, which we first installed in 1985 at the Winthrop Savings Bank outside of Boston. That package went on to become installed in 500 institutions in over 20 countries. It's still running on some of the largest global banks and many of the direct banks in the US. In early 2004, we sold the company to FIS, and I joined FIS as a president of enterprise banking and ran engineering and product development across all product lines. I retired from FIS in 2011, and in 2012, I invested in a Silicon Valley startup called ZenBanks, joining the company as a COO and CTO. We sold that company to SoFi in 2016. While I was at ZenBanks, I performed a broad search to find a solution that could support our digital banking strategy, requiring multi-currency processing and multi-company implementations and high scalability. The package that was the closest to our needs was the original Profile core, so we acquired it and modified it. But that core was 35 years old, and that's what planted the seed. It was time for a complete redesign of core banking technology, built around modern concepts, modern infrastructure, modern models, and modern development options.
Well, that's great, Frank. So this is sort of in the introduction into next-gen core banking, right? And next-gen's become kind of a term of art almost instead of a specific science. But there are specific implementations and implications pertaining to the architecture that distinguish it from other core systems. So can you kind of explain what that is to us?
Sure. Next Gen, also referred to as Gen 3, has some key fundamental characteristics. First, it has to be cloud-based, or even more specific, container-based, sometimes referred to as Kubernetes. It should be real-time, meaning all required transactions and updates occur at the time of the event. It has to implement a RESTful API, which is a web standard for implementing and managing state and using HTTP services and URI requests, common across all web applications. Those services are described in a schema standard called Swagger, which enables easy integration and connection to low-code and no-code client applications. The API services should be available 24/7 by 365, no batch process or other operational cyclical downtime, like day-end or month-end processing. Finxact delivers two APIs. One is the model API, which provides complete create, read, update, delete access to the database objects. And it's supported by an extensive and scalable model schema, which is in a Swagger file. The Finxact database is also temporal, which means it can be accessed in real time now, which is a default, but can also be accessed as of any point in time. Also, any version or timeline of an object can be acquired as requested. Finxact has about 170 of its model classes. The other API is called the Finxact Core API, which provides business processes or use cases, such as opening an account or position, creating a product, posting a transaction, or entering an order. And Finxact has approximately 300 Core API endpoints.
Excellent. Well, Finxact had made it very clear early on that it was building an advanced position-keeping system for the modern era of banking, something like what you just described, right? This is usually referred to, in many cases, as a system of record. So this would have a lot of implications about how you went to market and your commitment to open banking and open finance in particular. So how did you arrive at that approach? And what do you see as the advantages to an open ecosystem?
Well, from the start, we knew that digital banking was and is evolving and ultimately could not be supported by existing systems of record. They were designed for a branch banking model with daily batch updates, proof of deposit, in clearing, ACH, for example. ATMs were incorporated often with front-end authorization systems and batch feeds to ultimately update the core. Digital banking has to support a 24/7 by 365 interface. It can't be offline or in store forward mode while day-end or month-end processing occurs. It has to operate over multiple time zones, since the bank's customers are no longer bound by a geographic footprint. Even the concept of a day as the shortest period of banking cycles and maturities will cease to be valid as this evolves. Everything will be time-based. Finxact implements an event model where all banking operations are controlled by calendars that operate uniquely on individual parties or customers, accounts, and individual positions within an account. The calendars allow time-based control of maturities in any scheduled banking operation. The Finxact model implements asset-agnostic positions within each account. This is unique amongst banking systems of record. A banking account can have one or many positions, much like a brokerage account. Each position self-identifies an asset type, which can be a fiat currency, a cryptocurrency, a security, or even any commodity, and a quantity or balance. Each position also contains its own map to the balance sheet, its own balances, its own maturities, and its own copy of product components, such as interest posting, which define its behavior. Our design was to provide this modern, real-time, event-based, multi-position account system record and focus our efforts on reliability, scalability, and product-level features delivered through the RESTful APIs to an ecosystem of fintech partners and build out a complete end-to-end banking stack.
That's amazing. Did this approach to some degree determine the market segment that Finxact would be able to serve initially? You know, Finxact's essentially an API core, completely headless. What profile of bank or provider were you looking at, and what problem were you looking to solve?
Your characterization is correct. Finxact can be regarded as a headless core. All of its services are delivered via the RESTful APIs. It is focused on the SOR functions related to order entry, transaction processing, customer and bank ledgers and record keeping, financial calculations such as accruals, and customer data. We rely on an ecosystem of partners to provide all the user interfaces, branch and teller applications, mobile banking, analytic reporting, originations, etc. Our implementation involves multiple fintech partners, typically between 10 and 20, as well as integration to internal bank systems. Finxact is designed to be a sophisticated position-keeping platform, and that underpins the full-stack solution. The banks that have been the most receptive to this model are banks that can perform the integration, banks that have an orchestration layer or service bus, and fintech startups with a lot of their own front-end applications and technical skills. The banks that have implemented and are currently implementing Finxact tend to be regional banks or larger. We're going to work with other product teams at Fiserv and other third parties to pre-configure complete end-to-end solutions for other markets that Fiserv currently addresses or that we can collectively enter.
That's excellent. So how do you see that addressable market expanding now that you've become a part of Fiserv?
One of the main strategic benefits of merging into Fiserv is the ability to access the scale and domain expertise of a 40,000 person company with a presence across banks, credit unions, and the fintech landscape. There's a substantial collection of application systems that we are already in the process of integrating into the Finxact SOR to build out the pre-integrated end-to-end solutions for the various markets. We can even provide solutions that implement multiple cores where the operational business requirements indicate that. We're going to market with a focus on the customer needs first, and we're willing and able to support technical migration plans that fit those requirements. As the product integration evolves, we'll incrementally be able to address more market share and market segments. We're still focused on our original go-to-market, which is regional and super regional banks and fintechs. We're currently also working on integrating to other Fiserv cores so that Finxact digital product capabilities can be accessed by existing Fiserv customers without a wholesale conversion, reducing the risk and improving the time to market of these new capabilities.
Fantastic. Well, Frank, banks some years ago began the digital transformation of their customer engagement channels. And it seems the industry is decidedly at this inflection point that core transformation is happening now truly in earnest. Why is that happening now, in your opinion? And what macro forces are at work that are finally giving them that nudge?
I believe there are a few factors at work. One, and probably the largest, is the increase in competition for the customer, particularly from fintechs and neobanks. While they're not all successful, they are introducing new services and features and rapidly evolving the customer experience and expectations. Banks have also had to evolve to compete and stay relevant, and some of the changes actively involve the core system or system of record. Another factor is the way consumers transact today, which has evolved significantly. Much more online, interactive, 24/7, has to be more secure, and it's mostly powered by mobile interfaces. We've entered the fourth industrial revolution, where the internet is pervasive and embedded everywhere. We are very connected. This yields a substantial amount of information that can be associated with financial transactions and customer behavior generally. This information can guide risk, need, and opportunity. Legacy SORs are focused only on the financial aspects of the transaction, the debit or credit. not designed to accept or manage the massive amount of information that is now available. This requires a new core that can accommodate the modern information avalanche. Another factor is the economics and efficiency of cloud computing. You can spin up a cloud instance in minutes instead of weeks or months. Infrastructure procurement is instant and also highly scalable. It's possible to innovate with new products and features without having to predict in advance what the ultimate scale and rollout might look like. It is far easier to move fast into the market on a scalable cloud platform. Finally, many existing systems, particularly in larger banks, are literally 40 to 50 years old. They are very difficult to maintain. The programming languages are not popular anymore, so resource pools are dwindling. The hardware is difficult to support. The interfaces are all custom and not reusable. And the delivery model has changed, and batch systems just can't handle it anymore. In summary, the existing environment is stale, costly, and fragile. Added to the other factors, it does in fact generate an inflection point, as you described.
Great. So how are banks beginning this transformation process? And what are some of the sort of pragmatic approaches that you've seen thus far that work best for them?
For fintech startups, the process is relatively straightforward. Just evaluate the options in the market, compare it to your business model, and find your best fit. We present a highly scalable, configurable, flexible core platform on a SaaS model that allows fintechs to focus on their business model and value add. For existing banks that have committed to a digital core, we can either be acquired to support a specific line of business or a specific customer segment. This is straightforward if the strategy is to run mostly standalone, for example, as a digital brand or a separate digital bank. Another approach that is gaining popularity, and one that I particularly like, is to integrate Finxact into existing bank infrastructure as a new product core or an innovation factory. This allows a bank to add the Finxact digital bank capabilities into their existing delivery channels and through their existing lines of business and to their existing customers. This approach does require a lot more integration work, and it does impact other applications. It adds capabilities to the existing platform without necessarily involving convergent or a rip and replace approach. This is an approach we're actively pursuing at Fiserv. We're integrating Finxact into the Fiserv services framework, which will operate alongside other Fiserv cores, such as DNA and Signature, and to connect to surround applications. The goal is for existing Fiserv customers to acquire the benefits of the Finxact core without having to completely convert to it. There may be also new implementations for business or operational reasons that benefit from Finxact solutions comprised of multiple SLRs.
That's wonderful, Frank. Could you tell us maybe what your role will be here at Fiserv going forward? And what are you most excited about now that your Finxact is part of Fiserv?
Finxact's being merged into Fiserv as a relatively standalone subsidiary. It will maintain its own operations, development roadmap, and engineering organization. I'll continue to manage the Finxact subsidiary and will preserve the velocity and innovation that allowed the company to achieve what it did over the past 5 years. As Vice Chairman of Fiserv, my role will be to contribute to the evolution of the products and to ensure that we provide the best possible solution to our existing customers and to expand our presence when there is an opportunity, particularly in the larger FI market, emerging fintech opportunities, and internationally. I'm most excited about working with a team of highly motivated professionals who have the skills and passion to provide innovation and valuable solutions to a broad spectrum of customers that will let them achieve their business objectives. I think we're in the right place at the right time and have a real opportunity to affect a positive outcome.
Well, thank you for joining me, Frank. For our viewers in closing, I want to leave you with 3 specific action items you can take to improve digital experiences for your customers. First, read our latest Experiences and Expectations report on fintech adoption. Visit the app market, number 2, from Fiserv. And number 3, connect with your Fiserv or Finxact team to chart your digital transformation today. Frank, thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you as part of the family.
Thanks for having me.